Kristin Hanie is a senior engineer with Southern Company, a major electrical power producer. She's got 13 years of experience working, again, with almost all the aspects of automation that you'll find, including cybersecurity, project management, contract oversight, and so forth. She's got a BS in electrical engineering and an MBA as well. She is a subject matter expert on alarm management. And in her current role, she's besides doing alarm management, she's a control systems integrity engineer, and she supports plants generating more than 45,000 megawatts of power, far more than you need to go back to the future. All right? So, please welcome Kristin here.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, and he emphasized 45,000 megawatts because that's an inside joke between Bill and I, because he insisted it was 45 terawatts. I said, we don't talk in terawatts. So he said, okay, I'll change it back just for you. All right, today I'm going to give a presentation on herding ducks and getting your cats in a row, adopting a company-wide alarm management best practices. So I'm sure you're familiar with the phrase, I need to get my ducks in a row, or it was like herding cats. Let's swap that around. What if you were herding ducks and trying to get your cats in a row? Regardless, let's just say it's an impossible feat. Neither are possible. And trust me, I know. I have 3 cats and 6 chickens. So I know this. It's very interesting. Try cleaning the chicken coop and herding them back in. So today, we're going to talk about where we started as a company, where we currently are, and where we're headed. So, where did we start? So, do y'all remember the days, if you worked prior to the 80s, when everything was on control boards and you had light boards up in the room, and in order to get alarms, you had to justify them. There had to be a cost evaluation because control rooms were crowded. It was costly to run what was needed to get your alarms to you in this control room. Well, then along came the digital age with big hair, Bon Jovi, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off and platform shoes. Y'all know what I'm talking about, Kiss the Band. Came the computers and internet. And with that came the digital control systems, the digital age. And with digital control systems, there was no cost to add as many alarms as you wanted to any singular point. Well, that sounds great, right? No, ring the fire bell. We have a crisis. That crisis is inefficient alarm management. We were overwhelming operators with nuisance alarms. And of course, what did they do? They began disabling alarms. Wouldn't you? Not only were they disabling alarms, but they had one alarm screen that was scrolling thousands of alarms continuously, as Aiden showed you. And because of this, they were missing alarms that were critical during upset conditions. Another issue, we're just now encroaching into the digital age. We lacked the analysis tools that were needed to properly manage these alarms. And then to top it off, you lost the trust in the data. The operators lost the trust in the data. Reliability was at an all-time low. So with inefficient alarm management, we had overwhelmed operators, decreased reliability, and potential outages. So what did we do? We started herding ducks. As a company, we developed SOE, or Standard of Excellence, 022 and 046. These standards required us to begin assignment of alarm management responsibilities. It had to start at the top. Not just the top from a corporate level, but at each specific site. It had to start with the plant manager. We had to make sure that the plant manager was holding the site accountable for conforming to these standards. We also had to establish alarm analysis teams. At each site, we developed teams that had diverse backgrounds, from operations to I&C to engineering, maintenance, and design, as well as some corporate oversight and lead management sponsors. We began to identify and rationalize critical alarms. We decided to take a look at all of our priority 1 alarms. Were they necessary? Was everything supposed to be a priority 1 or even a priority 2? And again, proper presentation of the alarms to the operators. There were some alarms you take a look at and the description was so vague or generic, nobody knew what it meant, not even the person who really put it in. Oh, I don't remember. So then we had to develop a plan that would allow us to comply under 022 to the 046 Southern Company Generation I&C standards for design specifications. And we started researching. We read the Alarm Management Handbook that was actually written by Eddie Habibi and Bill Holyfield from PAS. It's a great book. We adopted Plant State Suite as our analysis tool. We began to use it to prioritize our alarms by focusing on daily, weekly, and monthly frequent alarm analysis. So were our cats in a row? No. Operations was still overwhelmed. There was still a significant number of nuisance alarms. Data was pouring in, but it was stale. Control room ergonomics. Some of the control rooms had up to 20 screens one operator was trying to pay attention to following alarms and processes. And one alarm screen that was housing all of our alarm printouts. Data reliability. We had an analysis tool, but was it efficient? No, we had 47 open cases with PAS where we had not maintained the tool. We had resource constraints. The lack of usage. Did the users even know that they had a tool? They didn't. The tool was developed and implemented in a package with another product that PAS offered us called Integrity. And we kind of took the focus more on the integrity side, so PSS kind of went in there. But nobody knew they had it. There was no training. The users, they didn't even know what they had at their site. And because of this, it wasn't being maintained. There was no trust in the data. There was no reliability with this tool. The other issue we had, let's do it our way mentality. And we all know, coming from process engineering, that every site has its own culture. They want to do it their way. We have a big difference between the different generations, from Gen X to Gen Y, millennials, baby boomers. We have risk takers and non-risk takers, and there's a big gap in between. We had issues with corporate versus plant. Nobody likes for you to come in and say, this is how you need to do it. But then again, we like going in and saying, hey, we're here to help you. We're here to save the day. It's all about understanding and find a balance with each other. Corporate was following an I&C design standard for process alarms, but the plant, when they kicked off projects, they weren't following a process. They were just implementing what they felt they needed to operate facilities on a daily basis reliably and safely. Philosophy. Did we have one? Not even a generic one at a corporate level or at a site level. And what's priority for alarms? You tell us to prioritize, but what are we prioritizing? Are we prioritizing the alarm? Where does it fall in the scheme of priority for the process? Or are we prioritizing based on maintenance needs? How many work orders do we have out there where we have stale maintenance that's still ongoing that we need to mitigate in order not to have these alarms? Or are we going to focus on heavy hitters, frequent alarms, chattering alarms? Nobody knew because there was no direction in prioritization and too many software application options. You had Plant State Suite, which was being used at a fleet-wide level. It was offered at a plant level, but was anybody using it? Of course not. They're right there at the digital control system who offers their own analytics. So they just went out to the control systems, or they adopted another third-party software that they felt confident that they trusted the data. And so you had, even at the plant site, you had I&C or engineers using the control system. But then you had operations over here using this other third-party software, while corporate was coming in saying, well, according to Plant State Suite, there had to be consistency and continuity. There was none. Resource constraints. Think about the differences in the facilities. You have large versus small plants. Small plants don't have the resources to run the facility, maintain the facilities, and constantly look at alarm management, alarming initiatives when there's reliability of operations at stake here. We need to be out in the plant. We need to operate and make sure it's done safely. From a larger facility standpoint, there were analysis teams meeting every week. But your smaller facilities, if you were lucky, they met once a quarter. And that was when you're not in outage season, which is a majority of our year. Then at the corporate level, we only had a very, very small group of 2 or 3 people who were brought in to focus on these analytics tools, but that wasn't their only focus. They had other types of historical data systems and operation systems that they supported. We needed to put focus on an alarm management tool and create some type of consistency across the board. This is where we started. Back in 2014, we took a trend in PSS, and I want you to keep in mind that this trend is only of priorities 1s, 2s, and 3s. This is not all alarms. If I showed you all alarms, we would be anywhere from 40 to 60,000 alarms per day on average. And that's an average. That's not a total. We've had some larger sites that were even higher than that, but for the most part, it was in the 40 to 60,000 range. Priorities 1s, 2s, and 3s fall within a 4,000 to 4,500 range. That's a pretty significant number when you're trying to operate a unit and your alarm is constantly blaring at you and you get to the point you become complacent and you just hit the off button. Clear, acknowledge, go away. I got other things to look at. From a Plant State Suite standpoint, we were hovering between 60 and 75% on reliability. I don't know about y'all, but to me, that's not acceptable. I wouldn't want a tool that wasn't providing me 60 or 70% acceptability. Not that the tool wasn't working, but it wasn't being supported and maintained and used the way it should be. So what did we do? Over the past, I'd say roughly during that time frame, we started kicking off alarm management around 2012. But we didn't actually get PSS in until around 2014. So since then, when we started taking this approach, we started looking at these three areas. From the overwhelmed operators, we started an alarm prioritization process. We decided that we would only show 1s, 2s, and 3s to our operators. We still kept the other alarms, but they weren't shown to the operator. We took away the features of shelving and disabling alarms. We also began to roll out high-performance graphics, high-performance HMI or power graphics. Now, this is a costly feat. This is not something that every facility, depending upon its size and its budget, can handle. But some of our sites decided to go this route, and not only did they do high-performance graphics, but they managed to get screens down from 20 screens down to 6 or 7, 8, maybe 10 at the highest, but for the most part, we were trying to get down to operating off of 6 screens with power graphics. For data reliability, we put an emphasis on the open cases and any additional cases that had been open since 2014, and we closed, of 54 total cases, within a year and a half, we closed 53 cases that were DC-specific anomalies. And this was because you're constantly changing your controls, whether you're changing your platform or you're upgrading your historical piece of it. You get into the issue of software compatibility. It was bugs, it was things we had to work through, and PES worked with us to work through those bugs. We also started logging the maintenance and support for PSS. We started using a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. For user acceptance, one of our biggest issues was user awareness. So once we worked out our cases, began logging cases, we decided to hit the road. We traveled to the sites who were PSS users. There are 19 of them in 66 units. We developed training on PSS. We walked them through the benefits and the functions of the program. And during that, we actually, during some critical upset conditions, we used it in a root cause analysis. We were able to identify, after the fact, when we did a root cause analysis, we were able to identify some alarms that should have been priority ones that were critical, that if they were, they would have let the operator know there was an issue. The problem was they were defined as a priority 4. The operator never received the alarm. And now we have a critical condition, which led to a potential outage. So with this awareness and with this training and going out and doing an RCA and going out and showing them how to use the tool, we were able to promote it and build trust back into the system. We increased the reliability. And as you can see here from the graph, this is 2014, 15, 16, and 17. This is where we started, and the green line is where we are today. We are in a stable, steady state with our analytics tool. We are hovering anywhere between 90 and 98%, mostly up in the 95 to 98% range, and we plan to stay there. But we have a long way to go. If you look, this is all of the years compared together over the months. The green is where we are now. Now, it's significantly less than where we started, but our target, according to the ISA 18.2 standards, is that we need to be in an acceptable range of 300 alarms per day. We're hovering around 2,000 to 2,500. So we have a long way to go. So where are we headed? We've decided to take a whole new emphasis on alarm management. We will set standards that we will make sure the sites conform to those standards. We developed a 3-step process. The first step was to assign a generation INC alarm management implementation lead. This implementation lead is going to go to each plant, and they are going to work with the diverse groups. They are going to help create the documents and the strategies that are going to be necessary to perform this alarm management, as well as implementing documentation and rationalization. Step 2 is to establish an official, and you notice I say official, alarm strategy at each site. No more, let's do it our way. There will be a fleet-wide official strategy. Now, of course, you're going to have to strategize even at the plant level because, again, every plant is different. But we're going to have a generic one that the plant level will be based off of, and it has to be approved by the generation lead. And step 3 will be to document and rationalize alarms. Regardless of how we do it, whether it's Plant State Suite or another tool, we have options. We plan to do this at each of our sites on each of our units. As of right now, we are 20 to 30% done. We just started this year on our first unit. It's about a 4 to 6 month process per unit. And we have a lot of units. We also decided to take a look at our areas of improvement at a corporate and a plant level. One of our gaps was that we were not meeting the ED 15 alarm management design standard. We had corporate who was meeting those standards on process alarms, but not on non-process alarms. Then we had the plant who wasn't conforming to it at all. They didn't even know about it. So from this point forward, we've promoted an awareness to understand process versus non-process alarms, and we're holding our plants, our plant engineers and system owners, project managers at the plant level and at the corporate level to meet these design standards. And it will be a part of the specifications from this point forward in every control system upgrade and addition. We developed an alarm management awareness training that rolled out in February of this year, and it is mandatory that corporate and plant personnel take this so that they understand our direction as a company. We decided to perform KPIs and reporting. Originally, we were trying to do all this. There was one person in our company who was taking data out of different systems and developing these manual calculations to send out once a month. That is tedious. We have tools that can automate this functionality. So we've decided to start creating alarm key performance indicators on average daily alarm counts and those with a threshold of 0, because one of our biggest issues was the programs were not taking into account offline outage conditions. Your numbers are going to change during offline conditions. We need to take that into account. We're going to begin reporting per data owner, per asset specification and class, and total system averages, as well as reliability. We need to make sure our tool is maintaining its reliability, we're maintaining the trust in data, and we're reporting not only from a data owner perspective, but we're reporting from an asset class as a whole and a total system as a whole. We're going to represent this once a month. It'll automate out in a graphical and KPI grid. This is one of our first tests that just rolled out from a KPI grid standpoint. Eventually, we'll have our goals up there of where we need to be. Those will change as we progress. Again, this is preliminary. And we'll have a graphical representation of these KPIs. Another direction is dashboards. We currently have a third-party software where we centralize information. We have lots of software. As you all know, in a company, even corporate has 7 different softwares that some of them do the same thing and some of them have a specific functionality. Who wants to go to 7 softwares to find all the pieces of the information you need when performing an analysis? That is tedious. So we've looked into a centralized dashboard that will bring in all of the different types of programs, including plant state suite data, where you can go in and with a few clicks here and there, you can portray information from every one of them dependent upon what you want to see, analyze it, print it out, and prepare it for who you're presenting it to. That way you're not rushing to go to multiple systems. And it also helps at a fleet level because we don't have access at the fleet level to the DCS. So there's things we need to see, we need to help monitor. This will provide data to upper management and to the fleet corporate level. So in summary, where are we headed? We are headed to have less than 300 alarms per day on average per unit. And in order to do this, to help our operators and decrease their overwhelming anxiety of alarms, we're going to start alarm prioritization. We're going to start rolling out power graphics, not to every site, but where we can. We're going to look into control room ergonomics. We're going to decrease the amount of screens in the control room, decrease what the operator has to look at. We're also in the process of now recently rolling out a ticketing system. It's more of a ticketing system than an Excel spreadsheet, so we can log all of our issues. In the event they come up again, we can go somewhere we can find that here was an issue, this is what we did, let's go deploy it. And it'll be available to everyone. We've already assigned an INC alarm management lead, and we're in the process of starting DNR. Again, 20 to 30% done at our first site. We're in the process of doing our KPI dashboards. And because this is an ever-changing industry, we are constantly updating our user training because they need to now know how to use DNR. A lot of people, especially at plant level, what's DNR? What do you mean document and rationalize? So we need to maintain and constantly progress with our information to keep everyone on the same page holistically. And we're in the process of developing at a corporate level INC training for the SOE 46 compliance. And with that, we hope to be, maybe next year, less than 300 alarms on average per day. Do y'all have any questions? Yes, sir. It depends. In our particular environment, we used to have what you call a boiler turbine operator and an assistant boiler turbine operator. But years ago, they did a study and they determined that it was not really providing any efficiency. And so what they ended up doing is they went down to what they call a BTO, one BTO per unit. Now, that's just in our company. I'm not sure when it comes to other electric utilities, Dominion. But for us, yes, one per unit.
It's not just per unit, but really per operator, right? A lot of times some of the talks we're having is,
right.
Get down to a certain limit, analyzing is one operator not enough.
Yes, right, right.
I think for your industry, I think, I don't know, I assume it's a single operator.
It is. It's a single operator. Yes, correct. Yes, sir.
You went into detail on alarm management. You talked about some other things like high performance, HMI, and those sorts of things. So out of the stuff that you talked about, which would you say, if I was going to your control room and interview your operators, they say this was life changing for me?
I would say specifically from some of them that I've personally talked to, it was control room ergonomics with power graphics mixed in. And that was some of your larger sites. Your smaller sites, they didn't really see a benefit in it because their control rooms are already pretty small anyways, and a lot of them, especially your combined cycles and your combustion turbine sites, they're running off of quad screens, 4, maybe 8 screens already. It's your larger coal fire facilities that are running off of 20 plus screens where they're overwhelmed. Yes, sir.
Why are you setting the bar so low? Why is your target less than 300?
Our target is less than 300 because, for one, we know that what we're seeing now is not necessary. And the other is because of the ISA 18.2 standard. We've based our standard of excellence on the ISA 18.2 acceptable range. And we've been working with PAS out of, trying to deploy their process from the HMI handbook, whether it be identical or kind of our own version of it, I should say.
So you're using the max as your target?
Yes, correct.
As opposed to manageable, you're saying we want to be below max?
Right, correct. Our max is the target, yes. Because manageable, yeah, because manageable is really 150. Now, we can do that. I've seen it at smaller facilities. Some of our smaller facilities, they have 5 to 10, some of them 15 or 20.
That's my question.
Because right now, considering where we're at, we've got a long way to go just to get to 300. But that bar will change. When we get to 300, we're not gonna say this is where we want to be. We're gonna stop. This is going to be ever changing, but we've got to have a starting point. You have to have a starting point in every project.
Okay, one more question.
We incentivized people if it's too far. We found the same thing.
Right.
And then we took the next step to get the best in class. So I think the strategy is bang on.
Thank you. And that's kind of what we've seen. If you set the bar too high, unfortunately, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. Because people get nervous, they get anxious. Can we get there? You can.
Yeah, I can't play Roger Federer in tennis. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try.
Right.
Don't start there.
Right.